Hey guitarist, Will Metz here, Guillaume Metz. Welcome to this new student testimonial video, student interview. In this video, I will be interviewing Evan Pratt, and you'll see it's an incredible story. I think Evan really is in a similar situation as many other guitarists. He really came forward and told me that he had been playing for a long time, I think over 30 years, and he got quite good at playing, jamming, playing around the campfire, and got to a point where he just wanted to take that to the next level and understand. He was like, I want to know why. I want to know why this works, why this doesn't work. I'm sick of people saying that you don't need to know theory, everything. He's like, I don't care. I want to know this information once and for all. And of course, we got together and I helped him do just that. You'll see it's a really amazing story. He started from literally zero understanding of theory. He didn't know where his notes were on the fretboard. It was all muscle memory. And I took him in about 5 months from that to a full understanding of theory, understanding everything from the notes, intervals, pentatonic scales, the cage system, good fretboard navigation, major minor scales, harmonic minor scale, and modes, you name it. He went through the whole training and got out of it extremely knowledgeable and freed up. He felt like he could now really do what he wanted to do and make progress and play with other musicians, things that he thought were previously impossible before that. He was really shy and never really improvised or played with other musicians because of his lack of knowledge. So if you're in a similar situation, I hope that Evan's story will inspire you. And at the end of the video, I will tell you how we can work together and how I can help you reach those goals as well. So without further ado, let's look into this interview with Evan and let's get into it.
Okay, well, I am here hanging out with Evan Pratt, and Evan just got done a couple weeks ago with a program, the intermediate program of the Guitar Theory and Fretboard Navigation. Tell us a little bit about yourself, about what's life outside of guitar.
I'm an elevator mechanic, always worked construction, did some steel stud frame and commercial stuff before I got into that, and all sort of things, mechanics, like to build hot rods and off-road rigs and stuff like that and go use them.
Cool. Talk to us about what the guitar and how the guitar fit into your life up until you decided to sign up with these sessions together. And then what got you to making this decision and what got you interested and why you decided to move forward with that?
Well, I started playing guitar at 14 back in 1994 because I'm old. And a friend had one, staying at his house, and he showed me a Nirvana riff that was big in those days. Then 2 days later at a festival, we met Eddie Vedder, and he showed us, first of all, he was very cool, hung out with us, played some hacky sack, started talking about, I'm sure we were asking him about Pearl Jam stuff. And one of the guys I was with had a guitar, ran and grabbed it. And then Eddie sat there for at least another half an hour showing us how to play various Pearl Jam songs. And of course, I had just picked up a guitar for the first time 2 days earlier. I couldn't absorb it all. But boy, I was really paying attention, and it was very inspiring. So ever since then, I just couldn't put it down. For several years, got to where I could sing and play at the same time. Started writing a few songs. Geez, I had 10 or 12 songs by the time I was 16. Played around campfires, and that really never ended. I ended up playing around the campfire. We camp a lot, 15 to 20 times a year. But I hit a wall with writing. Because I didn't know what I was doing. I just memorized some chords and some strumming patterns, and every now and then I'd learn a new chord, but it was all just a big bunch of information I knew nothing about or what to do with. I didn't know the math behind it, so to speak. And I can't believe I went a whole 30 years without doing this, but I also didn't want to get suckered or scammed. There's a lot of, online gimmicky, so you usually get that feeling. It just drove me nuts that I didn't really know what was going on. There's some people that would tell me things like, oh, you don't need to know that, or you already know that. You just don't know that you know it. The Beatles never knew that stuff. None of that helped me because I kind of bought into it a little bit from time to time. But in the end, it drove me nuts. And then I found you on Facebook on a guitar page because I was looking for that knowledge, hoping to just absorb it with other people just talking about it. But then well, social media. There's so much arguing back and forth, and no, you're wrong, and how do I know? I wasn't willing to go to college to learn that stuff, or you were very nonchalant about it. You weren't pushy, and I had mentioned your books, watched all that I could find on YouTube as well, and read reviews on your books and stuff like that. And it only took a couple of hours to figure out that this was not a scam. I remember initially wanting to go week by week, and you made a good point about how that generally doesn't work well, or people tend to fall off, which I can totally see. And I mean, it seemed like a good chunk of money to let go of at first, and I needed to sleep on it, and then I finally just again kept going through my mind about all the video tutorials you had and how clear and concise everything was that you were trying to explain. Was not like stuttering or bumbling over the information. It was laid out well. So I decided to give it a go. And I'm really glad I did, because I feel like I got my money's worth and then some. It definitely, feel like I got a good grasp on the mass behind the music at this point. I mean, I'm no master of it by any means, but I have the tools to get there, and that's important. I really like that everything was recorded, and that I have access to it for the rest of my life, or the internet's life, whichever comes first. But I can go back anytime and just watch those and refresh things. The books are really good too. Seemed like a lot of stuff to go through at first, but it really goes pretty fast. And like I said, laid out well from beginning to end. So, starting with the basics and just bite-sized digestible pieces at a time, in order, no stuttering. I feel like it's a really good course.
Cute. Well, you definitely crushed it. You showed up the whole time, and that's also what matters. Looking back, this is a question I have for you, because you're an awesome case study, I would say, of someone that really had this massive gap between how you played and then the knowledge of theory that you had. Like, you really started with fairly close to not much when it comes to theory, right? And so it's really a great case study for me, because that's what I want to do. I want to take people that already know the guitar, they love the guitar, they can play, they write songs, etc., and just arm them with all the extra tools they need to take this as far as they want, right? You don't have to become a pro, you don't have to do all that stuff, but now you can, and you see what that looks like if you did want to do that. Look, knowing now, like you said, how I made the course, how I laid it out, put everything progress step by step and things like that. So it's not just about the info, it's also about how it's presented and delivered. Do you think, honestly, that it's possible to achieve this on your own using social media and bits of pieces and various YouTube channels?
For me, definitely not. There's going to be a lot of wasted time. The best part was say in the middle of the week, I'd be reading the book, and maybe something wasn't making perfect sense, or I'd get a little confused. Trying to fill out the chart full of scales comes to mind. And had me confused. Really, I was just confusing myself. But I was able to text you and ask you for clarification, and got an answer back in a reasonable amount of time. Throughout the whole course, you were really good about getting back to me at a reasonable amount of time when I had a question. It wasn't like I was waiting days or until my next lesson, usually within a couple of hours, and made sure that it made sense. It's not like you just dropped 3 sentences and left, you're always there with does that make sense? And it didn't always the first time, because my own I guess, blinders I had on, stuff that I thought I knew, which is dangerous. So, I mean, I basically knew nothing about music theory. I knew there was majors and minors, and that's it. I knew scales existed. I knew I could have looked them up and memorized them, but that doesn't help you fit it in where it goes. That's the puzzle piece that I needed the most is why? Why does this work with that? I've got this much. Where do I go from here? What else is going to work? And then the encouragement to not just learn the stuff, but to take the time to write it down. And by take the time, geez, it's 2 minutes. It's not a big deal. I've never done any of that type of stuff before, but working on a song in F major or whatever, and okay, write out F major, and how to find everything that's going to work with F major and whatnot. It just makes it a lot easier to sit down and work with something, because for the last 30 years, well, first of all, I wrote all those songs, had a CD, a band, all that stuff. I haven't written a song in 20 years, and it's because I didn't know what to do, and just messing around with a poster full of chords hoping for the best, that gets old real quick. I lose interest real fast. I might come up with a cool riff and then do nothing with it. And then by the time I want to, that riff's long gone. Didn't have it recorded, but now I know how to find out what's gonna work with what, and just by writing it out and helping you memorize it. And I mean, I know you can just recall just about anything in seconds. It's not like you ever had to think about the answer, really. That's how to get there. And, that may take a while, but, practice makes perfect.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you get the cool thing with theory is like, even until you become like you said, second nature, like every little bit of progress you make makes things easier, makes things better, and makes things like just a little bit clearer. And yeah, that's great. So do you feel like again, now the course is done, do you feel like, I know for a fact that your understanding of theory has gone skyrocketed. I mean, you understand harmonizing scales, which chords fit. We studied the harmonic minor, and again, I always make sure that you know these things, because when we're communicating, as you can probably attest, I can spot misunderstandings pretty quickly, and I don't let these slide, right? So do you feel like this is going to be useful for you as a composer, writing more songs, improvising? What do you think you're going to do with all that new info?
For me, it's all very useful, and has got me back into picking up the guitar, and not just around campfires. There's times I'd go, 2-3 months without touching one, just kind of, unless I wanted to learn a new funny song or something like that. But I've already just been with the backing tracks. I've never been able to sit down with another musician other than a drummer and mess around, because I didn't know what being in F major meant. It just meant nothing to me. I mean, I've used it a lot with backing tracks and things like that. I know I'll write more songs. I've been working on a few things, not very heavily, but speaking of backing tracks, I've had a really good time lately using a looper. Turns out my looper will fit a whole song on it, so I can record myself playing one of my songs I've written and then put it on a loop and improvise over it. I never dreamed of that before. Like I had no idea what to do. I was always on the spot. Any song I've ever written has been by myself in a room until I have it down, and then come out and say, look what I did. So I've never sat and collaborated with another musician before. I don't have a lot of time in afternoons. My weekends are very busy, but I'm definitely putting this information to use just for myself. And that's kind of what I wanted out of the course in the first place, is to just understand, to have that background.
Yeah, and that just shows that you don't, again, like a lot of people, the reason why they don't want to hop on a course like this is they like, well, guitar is just a hobby. It's not a job or something like that. And it doesn't mean that you need to be stuck and have wrong information and things like that, right? But the fact that it's not going to be a main profession doesn't necessarily discount that passion, right? A lot of people will say it's just a hobby. Hobbies are not things that you spend hundreds of hours on YouTube for, things like that. Like that's a passion. Hobbies are like, I have hobbies and I don't care. Like if I lost this hobby tomorrow, I'd be fine with it. It's not a big deal. Right? I like it, but it's not a big part of my life. If it is a big part of your life, it's a passion. And if it's a passion, yeah, go for it, right? So imagine you're in one of your traditional campfire situations and there is another guitarist that plays a few chords. Do you feel like now you would be able to figure out the key? And if you ask the key and you're given the key to kind of jam over it and play with that person, essentially.
Yeah, not just that, but actually looking forward to it, because it has happened multiple times in my life where it was almost, I don't know, embarrassing that I just would have to set mine down rather than embarrass myself further. Just never pretended to know more than I did. I always, every time that's happened before, it was like, I'll play a couple songs and then you play a couple songs and then I'll play a couple songs. And now I'm not putting the guitar down again. I would definitely be eager to jump in and do something. It's not like I'm trying to be Slash or anything like that, but I definitely am eager for that chance again. It's happened many times before. I know it'll happen again.
That's awesome. Well, when it does happen, I want to hear about it because I bet that's going to be really fun to, for the first time, come in and, someone's playing a few chords and you maybe even just figuring it out, be like, oh, well, these 4 chords. Yeah, we're in G major. Got it. Let's go. And you started to play some solos. I mean, that's a moment that gives shivers. Like when you get to experience something like that and you're like, what? Like I just sat in with someone on a tune I didn't know, never played before. And I figured out the key and I played something and I didn't play the wrong notes. And I feel like I added to the music that was there, right? It feels like almost like a magician. Like you feel like you have superpowers when you do that. It's pretty cool.
I feel like even doing that over a backing track has kind of given me a sense of accomplishment. When I'm putting away the stuff at the end of the night, I have that sense of accomplishment that I've learned something, applied it. My wife has definitely noticed a huge improvement. My daughter is 21, also started playing guitar. Unfortunately, she's 1,500 miles away, and I feel a lot better now helping her learn, knowing what I know, rather than just showing her shapes, chords. Definitely glad that I'll be able to give an educated answer to any question she may ask.
That's a huge part. It's the next step of the journey. The ultimate learning happens when you start teaching, because that's when you have to come back to face how well you actually know these things. Because again, if you're trying to explain something to someone, you really have to break it down, which means understanding it really well, right? And that,
yeah, I thought you were very well at that. Is I know the old saying is, if you can't explain it simply, then you don't understand it well enough. And so that was a dead giveaway that you know what you're talking about. Because again, I didn't hear you stutter once through the whole course. Always had a clear and concise answer for everything. That helps a lot. And I was able to pick up on that before I even wrote you the check. Another thing is, like, if you're going to wait for a good time to do the course, just do it. There is no good time. You're always going to be busy.
Yeah, people are busy, and that's part of what I believe in, is that you can learn it even with a busy schedule. It takes work, but it's still fittable if it's done the right way. It is the fastest way, right? There is no faster way. And even though it's the fastest way, it took us about 4 or 5 months to get through this stuff. So it is still some work, right? But when people are looking for shortcuts, that is the shortcut.
Yeah, there's no matrix plug in the back of your head and know it. I don't, like I said, I know I don't have all that material memorized, but it's all recorded and I can go back. And as long as you're getting the gist of each session, then you can move on and go back when you do have time. There were some weeks that I had, 5 or 6 hours during that week that I could put into it. And there were some where I didn't have any hours to put into it, but we got through it, and I don't feel like any time was wasted.
It's great for me to see that I help people like this. Like, this is seriously like the best feeling is going through the whole program. That's why, like you said, I don't do lessons weekly, because it would be so easy to just stop when life gets a little busy and things like that. They're signing up for a result, for a transformation, for an evolution in their life. And there's nothing better than just, sometimes, honestly, it's not sad to say, but writing a one-time payment and committing like this for a whole time is a good way to stay committed and to actually make sure you get all the transformation, right?
It is, and I haven't regretted that once. It definitely, like I say, it seemed like a lot of money at the time when I was deciding to sign up, but after having gone through all this and learned as much as I did, that's just not, you're not overcharging. I got well worth the money, and I don't regret it for a second. I don't, not only don't regret letting go of the amount, but doing it all at once and committing to the course. That's what keeps you going. The like, life happens. There would have been several times that I would have, backed out for 2 or 3 weeks at a time, and then, first in that amount of time something else is going to happen, and it's just buckle down, do it, and you won't regret it.
Sweet, man. Well, thanks a lot. That's great. I'm really happy. I'm happy for you. I'm happy that I can't wait for what you're going to do with this, all this information. Again, if you were to talk to other people out there that were kind of in similar situations, again, passionate, obviously, about the guitar, hesitant because, yes, there is a lot of different gurus and courses out there and people just claiming that they know everything and things like that. So essentially, you talking to the past you, right? It would be what would you say to any person in that situation, which there are tons of guitarists in that situation?
Do the little bit of research, like I say, going to your Instagram or looking at the reviews on your books and whatnot. I dug into other ones over the years, and they've all kind of given me an icky feeling. Just because you know the material doesn't mean you know how to explain it. It's definitely worth just committing and getting into it and doing the work and reading the material. It's all pretty easy to follow. It all seemed very overwhelming, but no, you just deal with one thing at a time. One thing at a time from beginning to end, and all of a sudden it all makes sense one day. The whole time you're struggling through it, it's like, man, I hope this is right, and yeah, turns out you know a lot more than you think you know. And then all of a sudden it all comes together, and that's where you're from beginning to end, the way you have it laid out. Because there's a lot there towards the end that wouldn't have made any sense if I didn't know what you taught me first. So I feel like you've clearly done this enough times that you've got it in a good order.
A lot of guitarists will be like, okay, that's it. I've got enough. I'm going to learn my theory. I'm going to learn all my notes on the fretboard, and I'm going to learn my modes. And I'm like, okay, well, that is not the right order in things, right? First, take it a step at a time. Learn your notes on the E and the A string. Learn those notes super well. Then maximize your use of those. Then learn all the other things. There's a reason why I put modes at the end, because I think like people have this idea that modes are difficult, but when they're introduced with all the right knowledge before, they just kind of fall right into place. You're just like, oh, yeah, okay, that's it.
Yeah. Once we got there, I understand how it's different from a scale that you're used to, almost the same definition, but music theory wise, yeah, they are different. But I just never knew how until we got to the modes and you started explaining. It was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Definitely not difficult to understand. But just trying to memorize scales and modes without the understanding behind it. Why dig a ditch with a shovel when you got a backhoe right there? I make it harder on yourself. Uh, if you just go from beginning to end and learn all that stuff, but it just fell into place. I didn't struggle to understand or differentiate. It just made perfect sense.
That's awesome, man. Well, thanks a lot. Again, I'm really happy you decided to sign up. I'm happy about everything in the way it turned out. I'm happy I got to give you what you were looking for and that you feel like you definitely made the right choice there. It makes me want to keep going. It makes me want to help more and more people that need or want help. And again, hopefully people out there listening to your story will resonate with this and will feel reassured and will feel like they were a little more comfortable stepping forward into this, because I know it's scary and it is a commitment and it's vulnerable. You're essentially coming to someone and saying like, I don't know anything, and it's an investment. So there is definitely some things that, it's important to feel comfortable. And of course I try to make people feel comfortable, but you don't know who you're meeting, like you said, on the internet. And so thank you for sharing all this, and thanks for speaking to all those that will resonate with that. And that,
yeah, absolutely, definitely. Another good quality you have is not being condescending at any point in the entire course. Not a come on, we went over this, or anything. Just the encouragement, and nobody likes when they're being condescended. You could definitely tell when I was confused and stop right there and make sure I understood whatever piece I was missing at the time before moving on and getting deeper into it. So yeah, I felt like you were good about spotting when I wasn't catching on. I didn't just pay for information. I paid to be educated. Again, I don't regret it for a second. I would do it again in a heartbeat. If I had to start over. I definitely glad I bit the bullet and just did it.
All right. That was it for the interview. I hope you learned a lot. I hope you were able to resonate, maybe for some of you, with Evan. And if this inspired you, if you're in a similar situation and you're thinking, okay, this is what I want to do, I'm sick of not understanding, I need someone to help me with a clear method, then I would be happy to do that. I just started my Wilmette Academy, and as I'm recording this video, I'm still working with the beta group, so the launch group, a small group of students that are helping me build the program to make sure that it's perfect. So I don't know exactly when you're watching this, but there will be a link on the bottom over here. And the links will probably either a link to join the waitlist, meaning that if the program is not launched or it's full, I will simply put in your email and I'll send you an email as soon as some spots open up. If you see a free training link or a link to book a call with me, then that means there are some spots open. And all I will ask you to do is watch a little training video that will explain to you basically everything you need to know about the program and how it works. And then you'll be able to book a call with me and I'll see if this is something that could work for you. All right, just need to make sure you're at the right level, the right stage, that you're, that you would be a good fit for the program and that I actually would be able to help you with this. All right, thanks again for watching. And again, I appreciate all the support I'm getting on this channel, just looking to help as many guitarists as possible get out of their theory rut. That's my absolute mission. Thanks again, take care, and see you in the next one.